Hello, I'm Nadia, and in my Ramplify podcast and in my TV show, I try and have conversations with people who are interesting, who are excellent at what they do, and who are making a difference. And I wanted to introduce you to India Wilkinson because she has been fabulously successful doing multi-level sales. And in this environment, I wanted to know what her secrets were and how we can learn from her. So India, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here, and I hope that I can inspire somebody today.
So 8 years ago, you made a change in your life and you went from what to what?
So I have always been a corporate marketing professional. So I knew that very early on that I wanted to be in advertising and marketing. And I majored in that in college and did that for 25 years. So I actually loved my career. I wasn't looking to make a change at all. So I loved what I did. I worked for some amazing companies. I really enjoyed it. What I did not enjoy was the 60 to 70 hour work week. So what my mind shift changed was when I became a single mom, and working that much was a lot. So it wasn't that I was ever even looking for something different. And I didn't even have, there are a lot of opinions out there about multi-level marketing or direct sales. And I didn't have an opinion. I just didn't know. So I went into it going, why not? But I was actually working full time at the time and thought that I would be working full time until I was 80. I just didn't know that there was something else.
So what do you think has differentiated you? What has made you successful at something that a lot of people try and fail?
That's a really good question. And it's something that I'm asked all the time. What's your secret? How did you do this? And I think the first thing, and this is what I really try to help my team with, is, I have a servant's heart. So I really believe that I am here to serve and to help people. And we can do that really in any job. I mean, that's something that I think is just, that comes from within, that if you really have that servant's heart and want to help people, you can do that no matter where you are, no matter what kind of job that you're in. And so I think that what happens with people in this multi-level marketing or direct sales, it's really just about being committed and being consistent. There's no magic. So it's no matter what product you're representing, if you look at it in a way of, how does my product help somebody? What does my product do to help them? And I think that's the difference for me, is that I believe in the products that I represent. And that comes across in the way that
India, it's so interesting you say that. I once did a program at Home Depot, and I was talking to a group of award-winning people who had sold warranties. And I said to the guy who had really sold the most warranties of anybody that particular year, and I said to him, what's your secret? And he said to me, Nadia, the secret of sales, and you've just endorsed it, is I'm doing it for the customer, not to the customer. He said, you have to believe that you, by selling a warranty, are helping them long-term, not that you are selling a warranty so you can get the commission. And you've just endorsed that.
And that's it. And I really believe that. And, and you can think that anywhere that you go, if you like to frequent a certain fast food place, is it because of the food, or is it the way that they make you feel? And I think that's the same thing in any business. So I do believe that there is a stigma of people in direct sales or multi-level marketing, but it's really just, it's really more perceived than what it really is.
Well, I think it got the stigma based on maybe in the past certain companies that took advantage. So, but what you're saying is don't bucket all multi-level sales together, and that there are people. But number one for you, it's the belief in whatever the product is. And again, part of my role in doing these podcasts or these television interviews really just to say to people who are listening, whatever you're selling, be it a product or a service, are you thinking of the other? Are you thinking about how I can help you and how I can be of value and service to you? So that is an India Wilkinson tenant number one, and certainly a Nadia tenant number one. How can I help you? So then talk about relationship building. A huge part of being successful in any kind of individual sales as a solopreneur, which you are,
Right.
is the ability to build relationships. What can you share with us about what you do, either consciously or unconsciously, to nurture existing relationships, but also how do you meet new people and bring new people into your client base?
I love that question. So I listen. I really listen to people. So not just in what I do, with my business and with my company, but I really listen. I really listen to what people need. And so it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, having that servant's heart. If you're listening and you're not just trying to ramble through some sales pitch, which people do, and that is why this industry does have some negative, but they're just people, that can be for any, it can be for any kind of profession. You're going to have those people, but it definitely, we have to overcome that. And what I do is I listen, and how can I help you? And then truly listen. And then, it might pivot into something completely different than what the original conversation was about. For me, when I joined, it wasn't just about the products. It was, how can I make a change in my life without adding another hour to my day and not take away time from my daughter? And that's what the person that I joined, that's what she heard. And she was like, oh, okay, this is different. So she really listened to me. And I think that is something that in any job, you have your favorite, say, a real estate agent. They really listen to you. Is it the neighborhood that's important? Is it the house? Is it what's important? Is it the school? Instead of just trying to tell you what you need to do and why you need to buy that house, but listening to the person that we are working with makes a huge difference. And I think that's what builds those relationships in life and everything. And I nurture those relationships because I genuinely like to. I think that the thing that's kind of cool about this direct sales is that you can actually be an introvert and be very successful in this business, because we do have an online platform. So when people think you have to have this big personality and you have to be out there, you really don't. You really can, it's suitable for anybody, as long as you are willing to truly listen to the customer and address their needs. And again, building those relationships comes from building that partnership. I naturally, when I'm out and about, I love to talk to people. And I do love to, if I see someone that has a fabulous haircut, I'll tell them, or shoes, or, I think the connection, I think that's something that, that comes naturally for me. But I certainly coach a lot of people on my team that it doesn't come naturally for. And it's just putting that out there. And once they realize that people do like to connect, and that can be through Facebook, it can be through Instagram, it can be through any kind of social media, or it can be in person. The last few months have certainly been online. So.
It's so interesting, India Wilkinson, talking about sales and the foundations. And it really doesn't matter, India, whether I'm talking to people who are selling electronics, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, or warranties. The same things always apply. And you just said it. Number one, I'm doing it for you because I really care. Number two, really listening. I call listening a BLO. And if you want to know what a BLO is, it's a blinding light of the obvious. It seems so obvious, but so few people really do it. And you just reiterated, it's not just listening to react, it's listening to deeply understand where the person is coming from. So yeah. Two things from you so far. In terms of obstacles, has there been a time in your life, and dealing with COVID-19, or where you have felt particularly discouraged? And what advice and guidance do you have to people who either momentarily, or it's been long-term, fall into that rut of just, I'm stuck? What's India's advice to getting unstuck?
I like that. And I also get that a lot. So I think I can take this, what I deal with what I do for a living, but it's also in life. So I am a competitor. I'm an equestrian. So, and I compete for shows. So I'm always practicing. And that mindset of having a goal and having outside things, could be anything, that might get in the way of that goal, and having grace. So this relates to, of course, in any business, this isn't just what I do, but in any business, people get stuck and they are hard on themselves. I find that this has really taught me, being in this business, I found that people are really hard on themselves. They're a lot harder on themselves than anybody else would be. And I think the first thing, like if I had somebody on my team that came to me and said, I'm just stuck, what do I do? I would kind of go backwards a little bit and say, okay, so let's talk about, what I really like to do is say, what is working? I really like to focus on the positive first. And usually they can't come up with anything. So I always say, well, you're here, you're addressing this. So let's go with that. And really focusing on what you are doing right and what makes you feel good about this, because it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. Some people have goals to build their community and to make more friends. And some people really need to build their own confidence by building their own business. And some people are in it to earn another stream of income, which is okay. And I've helped people be able to be bold in that and say, it's okay for you to say that you want to make more money. And I think that's something that is hard sometimes for women, especially, and I help them through that. So I like to just say, and this does transfer to anything in life, is that you can start right now with a different mindset. And it is all about mindset, because there's nothing that I'm doing that's special. I'm just committed and I am consistent. So
that in and of itself is special.
What?
That's special. You think it's not special, but just the consistency is in and of itself just special.
Yes, and I think that helping people understand that. So as an equestrian that competes, I understand that I have to go and work 30 minutes, an hour a day in order to reach a goal that I want in August. That's not going to happen overnight, but I have to start now and be consistent in that so I can reach that goal. And I try to help people really understand that, it's just like planting a garden. You have to plant the seeds, you have to take care of it. You're not going to go out the next day after you buy all the materials and be like, it's a failure, it's not working because it's not growing. So helping them really understand, and again, learning to give ourselves grace and say, okay, deep breath. We're going to start today. We're going to start right now with a different mindset. And it really goes back to listening, because when people feel heard, and I find that that's the number one thing, is that people just want to feel heard. They just want to matter. And when you help them understand that they matter and that they do make a difference, then they are able to kind of unstick themselves mentally and have that refreshed mindset. Something that I do too is I listen to a lot of podcasts and Audible books. So I'm always listening to professionals that I feel like are great at personal development, business development. I don't listen to the radio.
Any good recommendations for us?
Sure. So I say I fill my brain with that. And it becomes a habit where if I start to kind of go backwards, I'm like, okay, I'm going to move forward with that. I love Rachel Hollis. She's got an incredible podcast. She is a self-made entrepreneur. you'll love her. She's got some incredible books, but she also has a podcast. I also love the podcast, How I Built This.
Oh, don't you love that? For those of you who are listening or watching How I Built This, it's everything from Tate's Cookies to big companies and small, right?
Oh, it's fabulous. And they have a new series now about resilience. And you'll hear, you know, from these incredible professionals that have built these businesses, you know, how they also build their resilience. And that's what's so important in any business. You know, a lot in direct sales, because there is some negative stuff that comes at us that is a little unwarranted. But resilience is really important. And so I like to listen to those things. And I think that I believe truly with all of my heart that what we think about, and you know, that becomes reality. So if we keep telling ourselves it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, that becomes a fulfilling prophecy. But if we truly believe, and we have to hear that sometimes from other people to start really believing that, and that you know, becomes a habit. The other one that I love is the 15 Laws of Growth. John
Maxwell.
Yes, John Maxwell. I love him, and he's got the Minute with Maxwell series. But I really love How I Built This. I really love to hear how people just had ideas and then they just clawed their way to the top, and then they were set back and then they clawed their way to the top again. It's so inspiring. And I always leave listening to those podcasts going, they can do it, I can do it. You know?
I love that. India Wilkinson, thank you so much for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure. Sales, whatever you're selling, whether it's a product, a service, at the end of the day, some excellent foundational wisdom, which is really listening, doing it for the other person. And I like what you said. It's not brain science. It's not some magic or mystery. It's just being consistent. So thank you for your wisdom, advice, and expertise, India Wilkinson.
Thank you for having me.